the leader in talk radio on the Internet, right here on K98Talk.com.
If you want to work until you keel over, have less of everything in retirement, or give back more of your hard-earned money to the stock market again, then just ignore me. But if you'd like to protect the money you save, receive a steady, predictable retirement income, and enjoy financial security for as long as you live, then listen to this. You can download a free report that reveals the wealth-building secrets Wall Street and the banks don't want you to know. You'll learn how you can get guaranteed growth, safety, and real prosperity without risking your money in the Wall Street casino, and how to get the money you need when you need it, simply by asking for it. This is the best way to have a 100% secure retirement, and know your money will last as long as you do. To learn more about this method and to get your free report, go to 29security.com. That's the number 29security.com. 29security.com. Go to 29security.com.
This is Slickery Trigger for Rebel Road Tactical. With proper care and feeding, your pistol will be ready when you need it. There to save your life. Shouldn't your gear be that good? Whether you need a holster for comfortable everyday carry or a tough-as-nails holster for your next training course, Rebel Road Tactical has what you need. Check us out on the web at rebelroadtactical.com.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 1-800-516-7602 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 1-800-516-7602 to take your call right now. Call 1-800-516-7602. That's 1-800-516-7602. Again, 1-800-516-7602.
In these uncertain economic times, you've got to do whatever you can to save money. One of our biggest expenses can be our cars, especially when unexpected repair bills hit. Not anymore. If you own a vehicle with less than 130,000 miles, is less than 12 years old, has a warranty about to expire, or even no warranty at all, you could stop paying for car repairs. Roadside assistance, towing, and rental coverage are all included. Don't wait for the next repair. Make one free call right now to see if you qualify. If your vehicle is less than 12 years old, has less than 130,000 miles, even if it's out of warranty, paying for car repairs can become a thing of the past. Call us right now and get your car protected before your next repair bill hits. Get protection and no more repair bills. Call 800-696-1030. Again, 800-696-1030. That's 800-696-1030. 800-696-1030.
All right, folks, this is Rick Robinson with you. I want to tell you about some friends of mine from a company called Security Enforcement Specialists. When I ran my security agency for 12 years, I worked with one of these partners on a daily basis. He's been involved in this agency now, and with his other partner, they do have over 30 years of experience in the private security industry. If you own a business and you need someone to keep you or your customers or residents safe, then I highly recommend contacting Security Enforcement Specialists today. Give them a call at 405-703-1796. Again, that's 405-703-1796. Again, tell them Rick from K98 Talk sent you. Like I said, if you need the help, they are here for you. So make sure that you go look them up, check them out, and see what they can do.
Wrong way. Welcome to the place. Welcome.
Joe had huge problems with the IRS.
I knew it was coming. I hadn't filed taxes since 1990.
All the IRS letters coming in added up to a nightmare.
To get up to like $68,000, my heart started beating fast. It's like, there's no way, man. I mean, I ain't going to be able to do this.
Then they stopped his paycheck.
So that's when I started making phone calls and found U.S. Tax Shield.
U.S. Tax Shield went to work immediately.
They just took the bull by the horns. What blew my mind is he called the IRS right then and there.
So why is U.S. Tax Shield A+ rated with the Better Business Bureau? Joe knows.
They saved me a ridiculous amount of money.
If you owe more than $10,000 to the IRS or state, choose the company Joe chose, U.S. Tax Shield.
It was the best decision I made. U.S. Tax Shield is the way to go. Life is good. Thank you, Lord.
Call 800-471-3287.
U.S. Tax Shield. Boo-rah. Yes.
800-471-3287. 800-471-3287.
The Internet will never be the same. You're listening to K98Talk.com.
Wow. Good God, y'all. What is it good for? Absolutely. Now get started.
The Conservative Commandos radio show is expanding to become the Conservative Commandos radio network. We are establishing a front line of conservative radio broadcasters and ironclad patriots to declare war against the madness of liberalism and the Obama administration. Are you tired of the disregard for our Constitution? Do you still have faith in the American dream? Are you looking for sensible, smart radio? If so, listen to the Conservative Commandos radio network every weekday from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. and Saturdays from 2 to 6 p.m. on WNJC Radio, 1360 on your AM dial, or around the world on the internet at WNJCradio.com. Check out our website, ccrsnetwork.com, for rebroadcasts and network updates. We are the Conservative Commandos Radio Network, where now even more newsmakers go to be heard.
We're David and Patty Barrickman of Wildflower Ridge Honey, beekeepers for 49 years. I want to tell you about a great survival and a multi-use product called Trail Rations. It is pure honey and a product of the USA. Trail Rations comes in a food-grade 12-ounce, very durable and reusable pouch, ready for immediate use or for long-term storage, because honey is the only food that never spoils. Honey is instant energy and goes right straight to your bloodstream. Honey is one of the best all-natural survival foods, natural sweetener right straight from Mother Nature. Honey is also antiviral, fungal, and bacterial. It's your first aid in a pouch. Carry one in your backpack or your bug-out bag. Find us on Facebook, Wildflower Ridge Honey, or call 765-641-9972, 765-641-9972.
I think we should make public colleges and universities tuition-free.
Climate change is directly related to the growth of terrorism.
Remove the federal prohibition on marijuana.
Climate change poses immediate risks to our national security.
I did not email any classified material to anyone. There is no classified material. Certainly well aware of the classification requirements.
We have a lot to learn from democratic socialist governments that have existed in countries like Denmark, Sweden, Finland, Norway.
This campaign is about a political revolution to transform this country.
You know? Now more than ever, we need our voice in Washington. Now more than ever, we need Sharon Angle in Washington. Go to runsharonangle.com and help us draft Sharon Angle to run for U.S. Senate.
You can call the Conservative Commandos radio show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-227-1360.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando radio show.
Welcome, everybody, and welcome, fellow patriots. Welcome once again to the Conservative Commandos radio show. I'm Rick Trader, coming to you live from the studios of the Conservative Commandos radio network here at WNJC 1360, our flagship station in Philadelphia, and around the world on the internet with American Patriots Broadcasting, TalkStream Live, SHR Media, iHeartRadio, K98 Talk, AM, FM 24/7, RedStateTalkRadio.com. We are everywhere. We are everywhere. And joining me today, today being Monday, is the patriot from the first state of Delaware. That is Kevin Wade. Kevin, welcome to Conservative Commandos Radio Show.
It's always great to be in the studio with you, Rick. And in fact, Delaware is the first state.
It is.
There could be no 50 states without Delaware being first. Everyone else had to come later. So we're very proud of that in those 3 counties.
It only 3 counties, a small state, but very meaningful and very powerful. And that, when I was a kid, one of the reasons I learned that Delaware was the first state was in 1956. 1956. Believe it or not, I can remember back that far. Dwight David Eisenhower was inaugurated for the second term, and he had a parade up Pennsylvania Avenue, as the presidents, new and re-elected presidents do. Well, Pennsylvania was the first state in the parade that was represented in a parade, and Delaware was the second. And I found out then because Delaware was the first state. And when they have the parade down Pennsylvania Avenue after inaugurating a new president, they go in the order of the states coming into the Union. So Delaware is always the second represented in the parade.
Unless we elect a president from Delaware. And I think Joe Biden has missed that boat, but there's always a chance.
Always a chance. Always a chance. So what's on your radar screen today?
Trouble around the world. Trouble around the world. I was. We were talking last week when I was guest hosting on Monday about the unfair contrast between the strength of Jimmy Carter and the performance of our present Republican leaders in Washington. So I have taken it on to write my commentary, which I'll deliver, I guess, in about 5 or 6 minutes, called "Jimmy Carter versus Today's GOP Leadership." Mm-hmm. You'll be interested to find out who wins that cage fight.
I don't even want to venture a wager on that one.
Well, I'll tell you something. This is, there's signs of death and decay. There's a stench of decay in this country now, and it comes from liberal policies made real. It's liberal policies made real. Everything that the liberals touch and attempt to change seems to wither, seems to decay, seems to die. Now, the liberals in my state have controlled the public schools forever. And forever, the tone and the tenor, the general mood and atmosphere in public schools has gotten more chaotic, more disorderly, more noisy, more contentious. More fights, more violence, more police, more arrests. And the state of Delaware hit a true low point in public education this past week when a 16-year-old girl was beaten to death in the girls' room of a local high school by 2 other people, allegedly. And I'll tell you, if you're a mom or a dad in Delaware or any place around this country, these days it's not so simple. These days it's not like we'll get them on the bus, we'll get them to school. I worry that they do well in the math test. The liberals have brought chaos, disorder, and have tolerated violence in our public schools. And the products of those schools are moving out into the workforce unprepared, unsocialized, undisciplined. And unfortunately, in the case of the 16-year-old in Delaware last week, she actually never will come out in the workforce or come out to a prom or come out and have a baby and get married and live a life, because her life was ended in the girls' room at Howard High School in Wilmington, Delaware. So that's a tragedy. But let me go on a little bit more. Everything they touch, everything the liberals touch, universities were for centuries an island of free thought and free speech. Now the liberals have choked the life out of what universities are supposed to be.
Mm-hmm.
And now free speech is dead.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go on. Liberals seek to improve our environment. They choke the life out of job creation with regulations that make absolutely no sense. We had on the show a year and a half ago someone talking about the Hemingway Museum, the Hemingway House in Key West, where a bureaucrat in Washington determined that the six-toed cats, which swarm the island, but also have a home in the Hemingway House, need special protection. And the owners, because it's a private museum, and private's a bad word in the federal bureaucracy, needed to hire a guard or strengthen the fencing around the house. Ridiculous. We saw it with the people at Mount Pisgah Inn, okay, during the government slowdown. He's minding his own business. He's got 100 guests there. He's got 200 people on the payroll. It's high season. The leaves are changing. And armed agents come in from the federal government to tell them to close down because the Democrats in Washington aren't happy with the budget they're getting. Everything they touch goes to seed. And look at our country today. And it won't turn around simply by let's stop the drift to the left.
Mm-hmm.
This country needs to lurch just to get back to the mainstream.
Kevin, what I found was very interesting. Are you a basketball fan? I don't know you to be a basketball
I was
fan.
for many years. I haven't followed it recently because I wised up to the fact in a professional game you just watch the last 30 seconds.
Yep. Well, the NBA has told the state of North Carolina that Charlotte will never hold an All-Star game unless they allow men to go into women's bathrooms. I think, and I thought this is the highlight of stupidity when an organization like the National Basketball Association tells the state of North Carolina, forget ever happening, forget the chances of ever hosting an NBA All-Star game unless you allow men into women's bathrooms. I mean,
Well, the NBA should hold transgender nights or transvestite night and see how many seats they fill. They have to understand they're not just pandering to the Democrats in Washington. They actually have a market they have to satisfy. And that market isn't going to fill up their arenas. And I think the state of North Carolina should tell them, hey, our people here by our elected officials made our decision. Now, you make yours. You don't want to play a basketball game here, that's fine. But as other states say, we don't want you to play your basketball games here either. The problem isn't us in Mississippi, Georgia, or North Carolina. The problem is what's wrong in the heads of the people who run the NBA.
I don't know. It's this political correctness. It's the liberalism, as you said, is helping to destroy the country. So, Kevin, last week you and I were talking about Jimmy Carter, and it seems like today you've got a commentary about him.
Yeah, let's go.
All
Jimmy
right.
Carter versus today's GOP leadership. I never held a high regard for the presidency of Jimmy Carter. I've respected and held in high regard the moral fiber of the man himself. I've always separated my appraisal of his personal character from my views of his political and public actions as President of the United States. I've always held these two separate opinions. Like many conservatives, I considered President Carter to be weak and listless in defense of our country. I felt he was too ready to accept a decline in the quality of our life here in this country and too timid to lead a great nation effectively. There is a body of evidence to support these criticisms. Yet this isn't 1979 anymore, and America has moved on. More definitively, America has skidded down. It's fair to compare Jimmy Carter, the Democrat, and his record in his time with today's Republican leadership in Washington. Let's see who is the more muscular in defending our country. Who is the greater bulldog in safeguarding the taxpayers' money, and who strikes a tougher tone about the oil-producing regions of the Arab world? I think when I finish this discussion, you'll have a refined view of former President Carter. You may even take a different view of the makeup of the GOP leadership that asked for our support today. Today, our military has declined to the point that Marine pilots aren't permitted to fly because of a lack of money for aviation fuel. Up to one-third of our planes and helicopters simply can't fly because they're broken. Our Navy is smaller than any time in the past 100 years. The Army has fewer men than in the days before Pearl Harbor. All this while the Republican leadership controls the entire U.S. Congress and controls all the money spent for our military. Jimmy Carter was a very public voice for international peace and diplomatic concessions to avoid conflict. This is true. Yet behind the public scenes of politics, he gave the green light to a revolutionary transformation of our warfighting capabilities. The stealth bomber, the B-2, yes, that was started by Jimmy Carter. Likewise, the TOW wire-guided anti-tank rocket, and the Tomahawk cruise missile, and the geopositioning satellites to guide cruise missiles with pinpoint accuracy. All of that was funded by President Jimmy Carter. He funded production of thousands of M1A1 Abrams tanks that first entered service during his time in office. In a contest about who provided the muscle to Americans' military, Jimmy Carter wins that cage match. Let's look at who was the fiscal hawk. Who stood between the greed of the federal government and your wallet? The Republicans controlled the government's spending and borrowing. It's right there in the U.S. Constitution. Read it. In the 6 years since they assumed control for the federal checkbook, the national debt increased $6 trillion. $6 trillion. Jimmy Carter's debt increased 1/20th of that amount in his 4 years. 1/20th of that amount. Thank you, Jimmy Carter, for being a fiscal conservative. The GOP leadership refuses to support deportation of Muslim aliens who can't demonstrate a compelling reason to be in our country. They seem to refuse to accept that this nation, as any nation, controls its own borders. There is nothing in the Constitution that requires we admit anyone for any reason. The GOP is more concerned about the feelings of Muslim visitors than they are about the life and safety of Americans in San Bernardino or the World Trade Center or your own town. They don't seem to detect a pattern of conduct by some Muslims to threaten the security of every American. On the other hand, when you look for someone to admire for putting American safety and dignity first, look to Jimmy Carter. After the insult by Iran seizing our embassy and American staff there, Jimmy took swift action. He canceled the visas of every Iranian in this country and ordered their immediate deportation in the tens of thousands. A judge upheld this action. The breed of Republicans in Washington then gave full support, as did, as you would expect, the American people. Those Republicans were a different breed. Now, finally, let's take a look at Jimmy Carter's lasting and most significant success. He brokered the Camp David peace accord. By his leadership, persistence, and persuasion, he brought the heads of Egypt and Israel together to make peace. Egypt and Israel do not make war on one another. In the Mideast swirl of ancient hatreds and senseless violence, Jimmy Carter accomplished what no president before or since could do. He brought a lasting peace between Muslim and Jew. He won the Nobel Peace Prize. It meant something then. Thank you, Jimmy Carter. We thought you were a weak and listless leader in Washington. We were wrong. It is only now in these days that we see what weak and listless leadership really looks like in Washington. I'm Kevin Wade, and that's the way I see it, Rick.
Well, Kevin, I have to ask you, you certainly are not advocating for Jimmy Carter, and nor are you advocating for Democrats to regain control of Congress. But a lot of people have been saying over the past 6 to 8 years that thanks to Barack Obama, Jimmy Carter is not the worst president we've ever had. It seems like, Kevin, you've made a very good case that certainly Jimmy Carter had his good points. But the other thing I wanted to point out is when you compare the accomplishments of Jimmy Carter to the accomplishments of Barack Obama, surely we now know who the worst president of our time is.
Well, no, there's no question about that. But let's compare Jimmy Carter, who's considered to be weak and listless or weak and feckless, with the leadership of the Republican Party in Washington. They don't match up very well. I mean, they're not Barack Obama, but they're actually a little bit weaker than Barack Obama, or they would have been able to deal with him. This is the contrast. What we considered years ago to be a weak political figure is now strong in comparison to the Republicans in Washington. I think I made a pretty fair case. There's nothing in that commentary that you can question factually.
Nope, not a thing.
And therein is the problem of the Republican National Party right now.
Well, we started out this show by talking about how liberalism is bringing the country down. Certainly, liberalism has also had an effect on the Republican Party. It's almost like the Republican Party is afraid to be criticized by the liberal media, the liberal press, and therefore they try to out-Democrat the Democrats. And when you do that, this is what I think the results are. That our military, and you're right, it is Congress who supposedly controls the purse strings for these things. It's also Congress that went into this sequestration deal with Barack Obama, which maybe is causing some of the problems in the Air Force and the Navy today.
Well, yeah, they probably shouldn't have done that deal. Okay, maybe they really have problems understanding the consequences tomorrow of what you do today.
Yeah.
They've got problems. They've got there's leadership that lacks a party. And picture that. There's leadership that lacks a party underneath them. The people underneath have wandered away. Mm-hmm. There is no one in the national, among the grassroots, when I say no one, relatively few in the National Party today across the country who line up behind the elected officials in Washington. Maybe the Kasich supporters. Maybe that. Ted Cruz, his people aren't lining up behind the leadership in Washington. Trump's people aren't lining up behind the leadership in Washington. You have elected officials who have no party behind them. They have access to a lot of money because they control a lot of power. But their position is guaranteed by the money they can command, for their friendly treatment of the business interests of large donors. Their power doesn't come from the people below who feel that they're speaking on their behalf. This is a huge problem in this country. This country has to fix this in a hurry.
Kevin, also, think of that, what you just said, in terms to the victories that the conservatives, the Tea Party, the Republicans gave Republicans in the 2010 and 2014 elections.
The National Party turned away from the Tea Party. They bought into that narrative from mainstream media that these were racist jerks. I mean, that's what the Republican Party didn't want to associate with the Tea Party movement. Mm-hmm. I think they could have. That would have been a corrective move. That would have been a good therapeutic step if they had brought all those people in and adopted some of those ideas. But instead, they picked up what CBS was saying. Oh, these are a bunch of white racists. And they kept them at arm's length. These were the troublemakers. Who probably has problems. Not as many problems as a Democrat has, but, I mean, this is a reflection of where we are as people. We're coming to you live from the Conservative Commandos Radio Network Studios, 1360 AM, and around the world on the Internet with American Patriots Broadcasting, TalkStream Live, SHR Media, K98 Talk, iHeartRadio, AM, FM 24/7, and Red State Talk Radio, theallin.com. I'm Kevin Wade. In the studio with me is Rick Trader. We're going to be right back in 6 minutes. I want you to be there when we come back.
I really don't care. That's my prerogative. They say I'm nasty, but
You've heard Paul Delks playing the music on the Your Music Matters morning show. He is also an experienced mortgage loan officer working for U.S. Mortgage Corporation and assists homeowners navigate the reverse mortgage process. If you are finding yourself asking questions whether or not you set aside enough for retirement, Paul can sit down with you, your family, and your financial advisor and discuss how a reverse mortgage may be a valuable resource for your retirement plan. You will be responsible for paying your taxes and insurance, and the reverse mortgage can help with this and other expenses, such as home health care or other untimely bills. Put Paul's 20-plus years of experience to work for you, as choosing the right option for your situation can be critical. Call Paul at U.S. Mortgage Corporation at 877-213-9977. That's 877-213-9977. Or go to seniormatters.info for more information. U.S. Mortgage Corporation is a licensed mortgage banker in New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and Delaware, and an equal housing lender. NMLS number 3901. U.S. Mortgage Corporation is located at 201 Old Country Road, Suite 140, Melville, New York, 11747. This advertisement applies to first lien mortgages. Paul E. Dilks, NMLS is 485904.
Hi, we're David and Patty Barrickman of Wildflower Ridge Honey, beekeepers for 49 years. I want to tell you about a great survival and a multi-use product called Trail Rations. It is pure honey and a product of the USA. Trail Rations comes in a food-grade 12-ounce, very durable and reusable pouch, ready for immediate use or for long-term storage because honey is the only food that never spoils. Honey is instant energy and goes right straight to your bloodstream. Honey is one of the best all-natural survival foods, natural sweetener right straight from Mother Nature. Honey is also antiviral, fungal, and bacterial. It's your first aid in a pouch. Carry one in your backpack or your bug-out bag. Find us on Facebook, Wildflower Ridge Honey, or call 765-641-9972, 765-641-9972.
What does it take to be the leader in production systems technology? To be the one company that solves production problems at any plant, for any product, and with any technology? It takes a 30-year record of success. It takes total mastery of complex technologies with a history of delivering success every time, without fail. Only one company can claim that high ground in manufacturing line optimization, data automation, and systems integration, and that's Philadelphia Control Systems. In factories worldwide, Philadelphia Control Systems programs, software, and engineering solutions deliver optimal performance and output flow with a record that can't be matched. Any plant, any product, any technology. Philadelphia Control Systems, the leader in production automation since 1982. 800-335-9811. PCS4automation.com. That's PCS, the number 4, automation.com.
The Conservative Commandos radio show is expanding to become the Conservative Commandos Radio Network. We're establishing a front line of conservative radio broadcasters and ironclad patriots to declare war against the madness of liberalism and the Obama administration. Are you tired as I am about the disregard for our Constitution? Do you still have faith in the American dream? Are you looking for sensible, smart radio? If so, listen to the Conservative Commandos Radio Network every weekday from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. on WNJC Radio 1360 a.m. or around the world on the internet at WNJCradio.com. Check out our websites, ConservativeCommandosRadioNetwork.com and CCRN.com for rebroadcasts and network updates. We are the Conservative Commandos Radio Network, where even more newsmakers go to be heard.
I think we should make public colleges and universities tuition-free.
Climate change is directly related to the growth of terrorism.
remove the federal prohibition on marijuana.
Climate change poses immediate risks to our national security.
I did not email any classified material to anyone. There is no classified material. Certainly well aware of the classification requirements.
We have a lot to learn from democratic socialist governments that have existed in countries like Denmark, Sweden, Finland, Norway.
This campaign is about a political revolution to transform this country. Now more than ever, we need our voice in Washington. Now more than ever, we need Sharon Angle in Washington. Go to runsharonangle.com and help us draft Sharon Angle to run for U.S. Senate.
From the East Coast to the West Coast and around the world on the Internet, we're coming to you live from the CCRS studios, WNJC 1360. This is the Conservative Commandos radio show with your host, Rick Trader. The Conservative Commandos radio show, where the newsmakers go to be heard. You can call the Conservative Commandos radio show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-227-1360.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando Radio Show.
If you'd like to read rebroadcast of today's show, please check out our website, ccrsnetwork.com or ccrshow.com. Or mornings at 9 a.m., log on to Leading Edge Radio Network. Or at 1 p.m., log on to roarradio.net. And at 9 p.m., log on to highplainsdailynews.com. And you can listen to the Conservative Commandos from any phone by calling 832-999-1199. I'm Kevin Wade. This is WNJC. I'm joined in the studio, as always on Mondays, by Rick Trader.
Kevin, we do have our first guest with us.
Okay, very good. Our first guest, listeners, is Curtis Ellis. He's Communications Director for the American Jobs Alliance, a nonpartisan 501c4 organization. In 2012, Curtis was a Communications Director for the Campaign for Primary Accountability Super PAC, and help primary challengers unseat long-term incumbents in the House of Representatives. Before entering politics, Ellis was a writer and producer for Lou Dobbs Tonight. He hosted a syndicated talk radio show, and his commentaries appeared on TV, radio, in print, and online. Curtis Ellis, welcome back to this Conservative Commandos radio show.
Hey, it's wonderful to be here. Nice to talk with you both.
Yeah, it's... Let's see. UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon chose Earth Day, April 22nd, for world leaders to sign the historic Paris Climate Agreement at UN headquarters in New York. Did they sail there? Did the world leaders sail to New York Harbor? I imagine not.
Yes, they sailed on sailing ships like the Nina, the Pinta, and the Santa Maria.
Now we're talking.
No, that would be imperialistic and racist, so they couldn't do that. They swam. That's what they did. They swam so they could eliminate their carbon footprints.
Oh, Lord. Okay, now tell us about this agreement. Tell us about this agreement. What does it mean to us? Is this just a photo op for the world leaders, or is it something that we need to worry about in terms of the cost of our fuel and the taxes we pay?
Well, it's actually both. It was a photo op. This was a purely ceremonial Earth Day event, but it was designed to spur the national parliaments into action and to actually ratify this thing sooner than they might otherwise do. And the reason they might not want to ratify this monstrosity called the Paris Climate Agreement is that it imposes a huge burden on every energy-consuming entity on Earth, including human beings, but all of our industries, all of our automobiles, anything that consumes carbon-based fuels or produces carbon-based fuels would have a huge tax imposed upon them. It's the idea. They're very clear at the UN, and the people who negotiated this, like John Kerry and everybody, we must eliminate the use of fossil fuels. And unfortunately, these people are politicians, not engineers, and they haven't told us what they're going to replace all these fossil fuels with, right? Because every day you read a new solar plant is being shut down because it fails to produce energy, even though we've spent $1 billion taxpayer dollars subsidizing the creation of some wonderful-sounding solar energy plant. It's not making any energy. Lots of solar, no energy.
We can let the audience in on the secret. They were never intended to make energy. They were never intended to make. They were intended to employ friends of friends in positions of power. A lot of money was made, but not so much energy.
That's right. Now, here's the gimmick that's also built into this Paris Climate Accord. It's also about transferring massive amounts of wealth from the United States and Western Europe and developed countries like Australia, but we're the biggest, so we're first in line, transferring tremendous amounts of wealth from us to the undeveloped countries. You see, because as we transition away from fossil fuels, we've got to help these other countries do that.
No, there's a lot of money to be made there too, Curtis. Don't turn your nose up at that. There's a lot of money to be made in helping the poor. At least trying to.
Oh, yeah.
Just trying to.
Oh, yeah. Sure is. Because I notice, I'm the UN correspondent for WorldNet Daily, and I spend a lot of time up there. I see all these people from Africa and Asia and the Middle East and all the delegates and all the bureaucrats, that they are so happy, so happy that they got the job in New York, that they're living and working in Manhattan rather than back in Mud Hutville, Africa somewhere. And they're all being paid well. They're all making a lot of money, and as they sit around and talk about how to help the poor and how to help the developing countries develop better and how to help the rulers of the developing countries drive Mercedes-Benzes while the people die of cholera.
You can build careers doing this. You can pay your mortgage doing this. You can get your kids through college. There's a lot of money to be made in helping the world, okay? And I don't think we should be too lighthearted about it. I mean, no one really said those solar plants were going to work. No one guaranteed that any poor would actually be helped.
That's right. And these wind energy, these windmills you see dotting the horizon in certain parts of our country, you go out in the rural areas and you see these giant windmills. They're just another tax boondoggle. They're subsidized by the taxpayers, but in case you ever had any wonder who gets that money, it's really the Wall Street boys, the big hedge fund bailout bankers. They put together these limited partnerships, and folks who already have more money than they ever earned, they can make sure they don't pay any taxes on that money by sinking it into these windmills, which doesn't matter whether they produce energy or not. They've accomplished their purpose, which is they've gotten a tax write-off for the big donors to the Democratic Party.
Well, I'll tell you a tragic little story. I come from a county with 3 states, first state of Delaware, and we have less than 900,000 people in total. And our enlightened leadership decided that we should produce a certain amount of our electricity from quote-unquote non-traditional sources, green renewable sources. So they brought in a plant that actually uses natural gas, and the liberals had to hesitate for a second because it was natural gas was the fuel. So they went back into session and they passed a law saying that natural gas for this plant was considered renewable. Now, it was a no-bid contract, and I know everyone in business is saying, nothing wrong with that if I can get it, but it was a no-bid contract. They put this thing in, and the premium, it's been in, I guess, 6 years now, 7 years. The premium that they charge for the electricity, which Delaware ratepayers must pay, take it or leave it, the premium above the cost of electricity you could buy any place else has now totaled to be $100 million just in premium charges in a state with less than 900,000 people. So that's $1,000 for every man, woman, and child in the state of Delaware. And still the beat goes on because you know what? They're all making money. And the workers and the taxpayers and the guys trying to get by or start a business, we're just sucking on a tailpipe. And that's the way it's going to be until there's a whole lot of changes that take place. Curtis, will you stay with us because we're going into break? Short break. We'll be back after a couple minutes.
All right.
Thank you, Curtis. You're listening to WNJC 1360 AM. This is the Conservative Commandos radio show. We're coming to you across the internet as well at American Patriots Broadcasting, TalkStream Live, SHR Media, K98 Talk, iHeartRadio, Red State Talk Radio, and AM/FM 24/7. I'm Kevin Wade. I'm joined by Rick Trader in the studio. Curtis Ellis is with us again. We always have him as a great guest, and I'd love to kick off the week this way. You stay with us. We will be back in 3 minutes and 52, 51, 50 seconds.
I really don't care. That's my prerogative. They say I'm nasty, but I...
The Conservative Commandos radio show is expanding to become the Conservative Commandos Radio Network. We are establishing a front line of conservative radio broadcasters and ironclad patriots to declare war against the madness of liberalism and the Obama administration. Are you tired of the disregard for our Constitution? Do you still have faith in the American dream? Are you looking for sensible, smart radio? If so, listen to the Conservative Commandos Radio Network every weekday from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. and Saturdays from 2 to 6 p.m. on WNJC Radio, 1360 on your AM dial, or around the world on the internet at WNJCradio.com. Check out our website, ccrsnetwork.com, for rebroadcasts and network updates. We are the Conservative Commandos Radio Network, where now even more newsmakers go to be heard.
We're David and Patty Barrickman of Wildflower Ridge Honey, beekeepers for 49 years. I want to tell you about a great survival and a multi-use product called Trail Rations. It is pure honey and a product of the USA. Trail Rations comes in a food-grade 12-ounce, very durable and reusable pouch, ready for immediate use or for long-term storage because honey is the only food that never spoils. Honey is instant energy and goes right straight to your bloodstream. Honey is one of the best all-natural survival foods, natural sweetener right straight from Mother Nature. Honey is also antiviral, fungal, and bacterial. It's your first aid in a pouch. Carry one in your backpack or your bug-out bag. Find us on Facebook, Wildflower Ridge Honey, or call 765-641-9972, 765-641-9972.
I think we should make public colleges and universities tuition-free.
Climate change is directly related to the growth of terrorism.
Remove the federal prohibition on marijuana.
Climate change poses immediate risks to our national security.
I did not email any classified material to anyone. There is no classified material. Certainly well aware of the classification requirements.
We have a lot to learn from democratic socialist governments that have existed in countries like Denmark, Sweden, Finland, Norway.
This campaign is about a political revolution to transform this country.
You know?
Now more than ever, we need our voice in Washington. Now more than ever, we need Sharon Angle in Washington. Go to runsharonangle.com and help us draft Sharon Angle to run for U.S. Senate.
You can call the Conservative Commandos radio show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-227-1360.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando radio show.
You are listening to the Conservative Commandos radio show. I'm Kevin Wade. It is Monday, the 25th of April. If you'd like to hear rebroadcast of today's show, please check out our website, ccrsnetwork.com and ccrshow.com. Or mornings at 9 a.m., log on to Leading Edge Radio Network. At 1 p.m., log on to roarradio.net. At 9 p.m., log on to highplainsdailynews.com. And you can listen to the Conservative Commandos from any phone anywhere on the planet by calling 832-999-1199. Curtis Ellis is with us. He stayed with us through that break. Curtis, thanks for being with us.
No, sure. Thanks for having me.
Does an international agreement, so to speak, signed by world leaders of the UN, does that have the same force as a treaty? Does that have to be ratified by the U.S. Senate before it becomes binding on the U.S.?
Yeah, it has to be ratified, yes. Now, I'm not sure if they're submitting this as a treaty. That would be too straightforward and too honest a deal. There are a number of pacts that the president has signed, not just this president, but previous presidents as well. They put their initials and they sign an agreement, though it's never ratified. They and submitted to Congress for ratification and then approved by Congress, by the Senate. They go ahead and say, well, we're going to abide by that anyway. That's what happened with the Kyoto Protocols. That's what's happened with a number of other agreements. And this, though, the short answer to your question is, yes, this has to be ratified by the Senate or by some legislative creature, the Congress, whether both houses or whether they're going to actually treat it the way the Constitution says and get two-thirds approval in the Senate. They should. We just saw with Obama trade, with the Trans-Pacific Partnership, Congress, the administration does not want to treat that as a treaty, even though it's a 12-nation regulatory pact that would set up something like the European Union, this transnational commission that would write rules about energy and about immigration and about all kinds of things. That is not being submitted as a treaty. And in fact, they rejiggered the rules so it only needs a simple majority in both houses of Congress, and Congress can't amend it. So much for advice and consent, advising consent as laid out in the Constitution. This administration has no great love for the Constitution. I know that's going to come as a surprise to some of your listeners. I really hate to rain on their parade, but and pop their balloon. But the administration really doesn't abide by the Constitution and tries to do an end run around it any chance it can get. And so there's another level to the deception as well. Just as it will not, it may not have to, it certainly would not be ratified by Congress if they bothered to submit it. If they bothered to submit it, there's no way this thing is going to get ratified by Congress. However, you now have at the UN people saying the Paris Climate Agreement is inseparable from the Sustainable Development Goals of Agenda 2030. Now, the Sustainable Development Goals are, again, this highfalutin, high-sounding, we're going to raise the world out of poverty and make everybody equal, and rainbows and unicorns and ponies for everybody. And buried in the text of what's in there of the Sustainable Development Goals is the regular and promote the regular and orderly migration of peoples everywhere on Earth. So, open up your house, forget about Airbnb. You're going to have some people from the Mideast staying at your house. And if not, you can get some people from Africa to stay there instead, because we're going to have the regular, orderly migration of people all over Earth. In order to eliminate inequality between nations, we're going to let those poor people from other countries come to the rich countries, and that's going to solve all of our problems, okay?
Well, I know. I could almost swallow it if I knew that a lot of them would become senators and congressmen. I mean, why don't we have like a random sampling of the next group of illegals that cross the border, and we'll say, you're a senator, you're a congressman. They can't do any worse, and they might even love this country more.
Yeah. So you've got that, and then within this Obama trade agreement, the Trans-Pacific Partnership, which he was, by the way, he was talking this up over in London and in Germany this weekend. In there, buried in the fine print, it says that the agreement will be updated. It's a living agreement. It's going to be updated, not by Congress, of course. It's going to be updated by the Trans-Pacific Partnership Commission, and it will take into account other international agreements, like the Paris Climate Agreement. Now, it doesn't say when they update the rules and update the goals of achieving energy reductions in carbon fuels and all this. When it says this Trans-Pacific Partnership Commission will rewrite the rules and update the agreement, it doesn't say it will take into account other international agreements that have been ratified by Congress. No, it doesn't say that. It very specifically does not say that. It says the rules that it writes will take into account other international agreements. So there is an end run around the end run, okay? You've done an end run around the Constitution by not treating this as a treaty. You've done an end run around the Congress by not submitting the Paris Climate Agreement for congressional approval, but on the executive level, you make the decision, well, we're going to abide by it anyway. And then you do an end run around that further by, let's say, Congress approves this Trans-Pacific Partnership Agreement. Then you've got these international bureaucrats somewhere in Asia writing rules that take into account this Paris Climate Agreement.
Curtis, let me interrupt you for a second, because I've declared that this Monday, today, is, let's use Republicans in Washington as a punching bag day. So you have completely and fully described the trouble we're in just with this one agreement. I mean, I don't question a single implication or consequence that you've described, and they're all bad.
Yeah.
Now, let me ask you.
Mitch McConnell's leading the charge. Mitch McConnell and Paul Ryan are the guys that are just aching to get this thing done.
Yeah. I mean, there's no one in Washington who's going to stop it. Is there?
No. Well, look, Jeff Sessions is doing everything he can to try to stop this thing. He is doing everything he can. He's leading the charge. Outside of Washington, you have Donald Trump talking about it on the stump every day, that these lousy so-called trade agreements. I say so-called because it's not really about trade. I mean, this is what Obama said in London. And then his chief representative, his trade rep, said this in London a couple months ago. He said, we're not interested in a trade agreement between the United States and Great Britain. If Great Britain leaves the EU, they can get in the back of the bus when it comes to negotiating a trade agreement. We are not interested in trade agreements between countries. We want to build platforms that other countries can join over time. So what he's describing is the European Union. This is a club that other countries can join, where you've got the free movement of people, of goods, of services, of money. They moves across borders as though the borders weren't there. A platform that other countries can join over time. Those are the exact words that the administration's U.S. trade representative said. And then Obama doubled down on Saturday saying, no, if Britain leaves the European Union, we are not going to do a trade agreement with them. We're interested in these big regional blocks. So he wants to dissolve our borders and submerge the U.S. and U.S. sovereignty into one of these supranational, transnational things, creatures, sovereignty-eating monsters like the European Union.
And even people in the European Union are saying enough is enough.
Exactly.
We've had it. We're leaving. The major parties don't serve our needs anymore. We just don't buy the lies. It's all tumbling down. You know, Curtis, 15, 20 years ago, we were sold this idea that as we opened up trade and trade rapidly increased around the world, so would prosperity. And with prosperity, so would harmony. So would harmony. People would be better off because they had access to more of everything at lower prices. It sounds so appealing. And yet here we are 15 and 20 years later, and the entire world is on foot trying to go from one place to another, and the world is angry. It's
That's right.
all fallen down.
That's right. That's exactly right. It's and you would think that when they saw the results, they would admit they made a mistake.
Nope, they double down. Just as you said, they double down.
Yeah, they double down on it. They double down on it. They're addicted to this. They can't. It makes you wonder what their real goal is. They were just saying prosperity. It's going to make everybody richer. They were just saying that to sell a bill of goods.
But it sounded actually like it would make sense. This would relieve problems of the world, reduce the reasons for warfare, reduce human suffering. And in fact, there are more people on the march today from one place to another place that's not their home than any time, I think. I mean, you have to go back to like the Vandals and the Goths and back in those days.
Oh, yeah, exactly right. And by the way, if you go to historical precedent, we have seen the depopulation of American cities like Buffalo, like Portsmouth, Ohio, places like that in the Rust Belt, in the industrial Midwest. The depopulation is equal to what we saw in Europe during the Black Plague. Reductions of 50% or more in these cities.
It's the darn fleas in Washington. Hey, Curtis Ellis, we're down to our last 30 seconds. Tell us how to follow what you're up to and what you're writing about.
All right. I have a column at WorldNet Daily, WND.com. You'll find American Jobs Alliance on Facebook, American Jobs with an S Alliance. And also go to ObamaTrade.com for the latest on this monstrosity called the Trans-Pacific Partnership. ObamaTrade.com.
Curtis Ellis, Communications Director for American Jobs Alliance. Thanks for being with us today.
Thank you, Kevin. Rick, bye-bye.
We're coming to you live from the Conservative Commandos Radio Network studios, WNJC 1360 AM, our flagship station in Philadelphia, and around the world on the Internet with American Patriots Broadcasting, TalkStream Live, SHR Media, K98 Talk, iHeartRadio, Red State Talk Radio, and AM, FM 24/7, the allendin.com. Stay with us. We're coming back soon.
They say I'm crazy. I really don't care. That's my prerogative. They say I'm nasty, but
You've heard Paul Deltz playing the music on the Your Music Matters morning show. He is also an experienced mortgage loan officer working for U.S. Mortgage Corporation and assists homeowners navigate the reverse mortgage process. If you are finding yourself asking questions whether or not you set aside enough for retirement, Paul can sit down with you, your family, and your financial advisor and discuss how a reverse mortgage may be a valuable resource for your retirement plan. You will be responsible for paying your taxes and insurance, and the reverse mortgage can help with this and other expenses, such as home health care or other untimely bills. Put Paul's 20-plus years of experience to work for you, as choosing the right option for your situation can be critical. Call Paul at U.S. Mortgage Corporation at 877-213-9977. That's 877-213-9977. Or go to seniormatters.info for more information. U.S. Mortgage Corporation is a licensed mortgage banker in New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and Delaware, and an equal housing lender. NMLS number 3901. U.S. Mortgage Corporation is located at 201 Old Country Road, Suite 140, Melville, New York, 11747. This advertisement applies to first lien mortgages. Paul E. Dilks, NMLS is 485904.
Hi, we're David and Patty Berrickman of Wildflower Ridge Honey, beekeepers for 49 years. I want to tell you about a great survival and a multi-use product called Trail Rations. It is pure honey and a product of the USA. Trail Rations comes in a food-grade 12-ounce, very durable and reusable pouch, ready for immediate use or for long-term storage because honey is the only food that never spoils. Honey is instant energy and goes right straight to your bloodstream. Honey is one of the best all-natural survival foods, natural sweetener right straight from Mother Nature. Honey is also antiviral, fungal, and bacterial. It's your first aid in a pouch. Carry one in your backpack or your bug-out bag. Find us on Facebook, Wildflower Ridge Honey, or call 765-641-9972, 765-641-9972.
What does it take to be the leader in production systems technology? To be the one company that solves production problems at any plant, for any product, and with any technology? It takes a 30-year record of success. It takes total mastery of complex technologies with a history of delivering success every time, without fail. Only one company can claim that high ground in manufacturing line optimization, data automation, and systems integration, and that's Philadelphia Control Systems. In factories worldwide, Philadelphia Control Systems programs, software, and engineering solutions deliver optimal performance and output flow with a record that can't be matched. Any plant, any product, any technology. Philadelphia Control Systems, the leader in production automation since 1982. 800-335-9811. PCS4automation.com. That's PCS, the number 4, automation.com.
The Conservative Commandos radio show is expanding to become the Conservative Commandos radio network. We're establishing a front line of conservative radio broadcasters and ironclad patriots to declare war against the madness of liberalism and the Obama administration. Are you tired, as I am, about the disregard for our Constitution? Do you still have faith in the American dream? Are you looking for sensible, smart radio? If so, listen to the Conservative Commandos Radio Network every weekday from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. on WNJC Radio 1360 a.m. or around the world on the internet at WNJCradio.com. Check out our websites, ConservativeCommandosRadioNetwork.com and CCRN.com for rebroadcasts and network updates. We are the Conservative Commandos Radio Network, where even more newsmakers go to be heard.
I think we should make public colleges and universities tuition-free.
Climate change is directly related to the growth of terrorism.
Remove the federal prohibition on marijuana.
Climate change poses immediate risks to our national security.
I did not email any classified material to anyone. There is no classified material. Certainly well aware of the classification requirements.
We have a lot to learn from democratic socialist governments that have existed in countries like Denmark, Sweden, Finland, Norway.
This campaign is about a political revolution to transform this country.
You know?
Now more than ever, we need our voice in Washington. Now more than ever, we need Sharon Angle in Washington. Go to runsharonangle.com and help us draft Sharon Angle to run for U.S. Senate.
From the East Coast to the West Coast and around the world on the internet. We're coming to you live from the CCRS studios. WNJC 1360. This is the Conservative Commandos Radio Show with your host, Rick Trader. The Conservative Commandos Radio Show, where the newsmakers go to be heard. You can call the Conservative Commandos Radio Show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-227-1360.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando Radio Show.
He is, but you're not. That is Colonel Alan West, a great friend of the show, but you're not listening to the Conservative Commandos Radio Show. You're now listening to the Conservative Commandos Radio Network, and we're all over the place all the time. Hey, it's Monday, 25th of April, and we're having several states in the Mid-Atlantic have their partisan political presidential primary tomorrow. And on the phone with us now is someone representing, actually, the Delaware State chairman for the Donald Trump campaign. And in the interest of balance, I actually extended an invitation to the Ted Cruz campaign in Delaware to see if they'd like to be on the show, and had no response. So we are delighted to have on the phone with us Rob Arlett. He's a businessman in southern Delaware. He's a conservative Republican who recently entered the world of public service in 2014 by winning a seat on Sussex County Council. He is known as a principled man of faith and respected in his community as well as across the Republican Party in the state of Delaware. He's married for many years and is the father of 2 children. With that introduction, Rob, welcome to the Conservative Commandos Radio Network.
I am excited to be on the Conservative Commando. It's quite exciting for me, Kevin. I appreciate the opportunity to share.
Well, I wanted to have you tell your story. We kind of have a 2-man race right now across the country. I don't mean to disparage Governor Kasich, but he's just there as a spoiler. But we have Donald Trump, we have Ted Cruz. We had a total of 17 candidates to look at 8, 9, 10 months ago. What attracted you to Donald Trump?
That's a great question. I think a lot of people are asking them that same question, as a matter of fact. And then he's probably the most talked about individual perhaps beyond Jesus Christ, in the world right this moment, truth be told. And I think it's a very good question. So for me personally, Kevin, I was asked to get involved back in January. I received a text from somebody asking me if I would be willing to get involved, and whereas I was being considered to be the state chairman. And so to answer your question specifically, I feel as any elected official, be it at a town level, be it at a county level, be it at the state level, or even the federal level, the most important job of any elected official is public safety. They are to protect their people. And as you know, that's a rampant problem right now going across this country in many levels. And so for me, Donald Trump is the most vocal, most convicted person as it relates to the public safety of this country. And we need to know who is coming and going across these borders. And he's been very passionate about that. And I think I take that extremely serious for a lot of reasons. I am a military man. We've got a big military family for me. My wife is a legal immigrant. She came into this country legally from Vietnam. She was born in Vietnam during the war. And she came into this country when she was 12 years old with documents in hand. And today she is a U.S. citizen. So I think it makes complete sense to abide by the laws of the land. And so why anybody would think otherwise, in my opinion, should not be in office.
Now, how has the campaign within your purview, within your site of Delaware, how has it grown?
Well, it's grown, I would say very significantly. We have been kind of on my own, i.e., the first person who came into town from the campaign as a paid staffer, from the campaign was just 2 weeks ago, and then since then they added two more later that same week, and then this past week they added a fourth person. So right now we have 3 full offices in the state of Delaware. We have one in each of the 3 counties. We have one up in Newcastle County, right there in the heart of Wilmington, about 2 blocks away from the DoubleTree Hotel, right in the heart there.
Very good.
We've got one in Kent County, right in the heart of downtown Dover, the business district. And then we've got one down in Sussex County, down in Dagsboro as well. So we've got 3 full-time offices. We are open pretty much from 8 o'clock a.m. until 8 o'clock p.m.
And what makes up the day? What makes up the day? I mean, so our listeners understand. You've got some field workers have come in. You're the local guy. You've got other people who know the lay of the land. What's the typical day like for volunteers and the professionals they brought in?
Well, I mean, the professionals, their job mostly is to engage the volunteers and get out the vote efforts, whether that be people knocking on doors. We have hundreds of volunteers, Kevin, throughout the state, and some of them are knocking on doors. Some of them are calling within these offices, phone banks, and others are calling from home. And everybody has a different schedule. Everybody has different capabilities and desires. It's our objective is to serve the needs of that volunteer, to figure out how we can help them, allowing them the opportunity to serve this campaign. And a lot of people are very excited about it, I have to tell you.
That's very good. You match the volunteer to the need. Too many other people will say, here's my need, you can't get it. If you can't get it, get out of here. So that's no good. You got to engage your people. And you say you've got hundreds of volunteers.
We do. Yes, sir, we do. Yeah, we have several hundred, and it's growing, I would say, by leaps and bounds, especially after Friday's event.
Now, talk about that event. Walk our listeners through what happened on Friday.
Sure. Well, I will share with you that I guess it was on Earth. When we got the green light from the campaign, when I say the campaign, I mean New York, the headquarters campaign, okay? And by the way, Donald Trump has had the desire to hit and visit each of the 50 states, if at all possible. It's not always feasible. And what I mean by that is we got the green light and said, okay, guys, Delaware, your day is on Friday afternoon. Try to find a facility. And if we were not able to find a facility, he probably would not have been able to come. And so we scoured up and down the state. We looked up in Wilmington, Newark, all around, and to determine the best facility that was available based on the occupancy that we were hoping to achieve. So we got the official green light, contract to sign on late Tuesday evening of this last week, and in less than 72 hours, Donald Trump showed up at the fairgrounds right here at the Harrington, State Fairgrounds down in Kent County, and we had over. The guesstimation is that we had over 7,500 to 8,000 people in the arena, and we were able to pull that off in just under 72 hours. So it was a lot of excitement, very smooth, no issues whatsoever, and I have to say the campaign was thrilled. The national campaign was thrilled at the results of the efforts here in Delaware.
Excellent. And what's your forecast for tomorrow evening? I imagine you're optimistic.
Great question, Kevin. And for me, I did have the opportunity to MC the event this last Friday. So while I was up on stage getting the crowd ready for Mr. Trump, I put out the goal, statewide goal, of 61%. And the reason why I came up with that number, I think to this date, the largest number he's acquired thus far as a percent is 60% out of New York. And so it was my objective to beat that. And I don't want to predict, but I would be very pleased if we had that ability to do that. We just need for everybody to get out and vote. And we are still looking for volunteers, by the way.
And what's a number for them to call, or a place to identify themselves?
Sure. Everybody can go to the Donald J. Trump website, www.donaldjtrump.com, and you can find Delaware. You can click right there, and then you can sign up as a volunteer. And then we will have one of our coordinators, one of our field coordinators from one of the offices, based on your proximity, will reach out to you personally and then assist them to determine how they might want to help. And we also have signs at each of the locations too, Kevin. So at each of the offices, throughout the state, we have plenty of signs. So feel free. And unfortunately, I'm driving the car, but everybody can go to the to the website and engage themselves there, and then find the contact information for our offices.
Okay, and you don't happen to have you don't have their telephone numbers readily available at the moment, because we're going to take a break in 2 minutes, and maybe there's a chance you could find it. Maybe there's a chance you could find it in 2 minutes. Would you stay with us through this break?
I'd be happy to do it, Kevin.
We're on the phone with Rob Arlett. He's the Delaware State Campaign Chair for the Donald Trump campaign. He's staying with us. I'd like you to stay with us, too. We're coming to you live from the Conservative Commandos Radio Network Studios, WNJC 1360 AM. Our flagship station in Philadelphia and around the world on the Internet with American Patriots Broadcasting, TalkStream Live, SHR Media, K98 Talk, iHeartRadio, Red State Talk Radio, and AM/FM 24/7. My name is Kevin/Wade. You stay with us. We will be right back.
I'm crazy. I really don't care. That's my prerogative. They say I'm nasty, but I...
The Conservative Commandos radio show is expanding to become the Conservative Commandos radio network. We are establishing a front line of conservative radio broadcasters and ironclad patriots to declare war against the madness of liberalism and the Obama administration. Are you tired of the disregard for our Constitution? Do you still have faith in the American dream? Are you looking for sensible, smart radio? If so, listen to the Conservative Commandos radio network every weekday from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. and Saturdays from 2 to 6 p.m. on WNJC Radio, 1360 on your AM dial, or around the world on the internet at WNJCradio.com. Check out our website, ccrsnetwork.com, for rebroadcasts and network updates. We are the Conservative Commandos Radio Network, where now even more newsmakers go to be heard.
We're David and Patty Berrickman of Wildflower Ridge Honey, beekeepers for 49 years. I want to tell you about a great survival and a multi-use product called Trail Rations. It is pure honey and a product of the USA. Trail Rations comes in a food-grade 12-ounce, very durable and reusable pouch. ready for immediate use or for long-term storage because honey is the only food that never spoils. Honey is instant energy and goes right straight to your bloodstream. Honey is one of the best all-natural survival foods, natural sweetener right straight from Mother Nature. Honey is also antiviral, fungal, and bacterial. It's your first aid in a pouch. Carry one in your backpack or your bug-out bag. Find us on Facebook, Wildflower Ridge Honey, or call 765-641-9972, 765-641-9972.
I think we should make public colleges and universities tuition-free.
Climate change is directly related to the growth of terrorism.
Remove the federal prohibition on marijuana.
Climate change poses immediate risks to our national security.
I did not email any classified material to anyone. There is no classified material. Certainly well aware of the classification requirements.
We have a lot to learn from democratic socialist governments that have existed in countries like Denmark, Sweden, Finland, Norway.
This campaign is about a political revolution to transform this country. Now more than ever, we need our voice in Washington. Now more than ever, we need Sharon Angle in Washington. Go to runsharonangle.com and help us draft Sharon Angle to run for U.S. Senate.
You can call the Conservative Commandos radio show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-227-1360.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando radio show.
Thank you, Colonel West. If you'd like to hear a rebroadcast of today's show, please check out our websites, ccrsnetwork.com or ccrshow.com. Mornings at 9 a.m., log on to Leading Edge Radio Network. At 1 p.m., with your midday meal, log on to roarradio.net, R-O-A-R radio.net. And at 9 p.m., just before you go night-night, okay, log on to highplainsdailynews.com, and you can listen to the Conservative Commandos from any telephone on planet Earth simply by calling 832-999-1199. And through the miracle, we've broken through the radar jamming. We often have problem with the NSA trying to shut our broadcast down, even though I assure them we'll give you a full copy after the show. Don't cut in now. But through the jamming, I now have information that if you'd like to volunteer for the Trump campaign in Sussex County, their office is at 30838 Vines Creek Road in Dagsboro, and you can call 302-440-3122 in Kent County, in the heart of Delaware. The office is at 111 West Lockerman, 111 West Lockerman, and there you'd call 302-213-3705. And in Newcastle County, it's at 2 East 7th Street, up on the second floor. There's a sign. And call 302-428-9454. With us is, well, Mr. Arlett, it's good to have you, and it's good to have you stay with us. And I want to understand, how enthusiastic are your volunteers?
Oh, they are highly enthusiastic. They are so excited and so thrilled and honored to help out. And I have to tell you, we are equally, if not more, excited to have them. And as you know, you've been in politics and you've ran for office before. And the heart of any campaign is the people, it's volunteers. And that is the key in the success of any organization, or the people. And it's no different here as it relates to Mr. Trump and his campaign efforts. So, they are thrilled. They are very, very excited. And I have to tell you, we're just super honored to have a very large contingency up and down the entire state of Delaware that are helping Mr. Trump in the effort. But I have to tell you, Kevin, after tomorrow, and I'm confident that he is going to get to that 1237 number, we're just getting started. As we get moving forward towards the general election, and, there's a lot of independents and Democrats that are very supportive of Mr. Trump. They just can't vote for him tomorrow, but they're anxious and excited to get going after that primary season.
And again, it sounds like, I'm on the microphone here being a homer, so to speak, as in a home broadcaster who never calls the play properly because he's a homer. I have to take a look at Pennsylvania. and say there's something like 60, 70,000 Republicans have changed their registration from Democrat to Republican. And that's in a Commonwealth. That's in a state, Rob, and I don't know if you know this, but often it's 100,000 vote plurality coming out of Philadelphia that decides statewide elections in Pennsylvania. The Dems come out with 100,000 just in Philadelphia, and the rest of the state has to be worked in a way to overcome that disadvantage. But when you've seen over 60,000 Democrats switch, a lot of things become possible in Pennsylvania again.
Oh, absolutely, and very simple, Kevin. His message is resonating across party lines. I mean, let's think about that. So, number one, again, his number one priority is the public safety factor. Everybody is interested in that across all party lines. Number two reason why I have supported him and endorsed him and got involved is because of the economic development. There's a lot of families up and down this country and in the state of Delaware that are that are having major financial challenges, and they need prosperity. And government doesn't provide that, as you know. But I will tell you, Mr. Trump knows how to create private sector jobs from his private sector businesses that he's had, but he knows how to navigate and eliminate the problems of the government. And so for me, he is the perfect candidate because of the credibility that he has in creating private sector jobs. So that's number two reason. Number three reason, he is the only candidate of all the five candidates that are remaining on both on the Democratic side as well as the Republican side that is able to acquire votes from the other guys, the other parties. Mr. Trump is acquiring independents and Democrats, as you just said, and the other two Republican candidates have not been able to do that. And obviously, Sanders and Clinton, they obviously are not. They might maybe get maybe one or two independents, perhaps, but certainly not getting any Republicans. And so, in the end, Mr. Trump is the only one that is able to acquire votes and create a unity of sorts across all party lines. That's the third reason why I've decided to put my effort behind him, because we need to work together in this country for a common goal, common purpose, and I believe that national security and the private sector economic development is key in this country right now, and he's got that message more so than anybody.
If I'm scared of being shot dead in the streets by a young mother who recently flew in from Saudi Arabia, who is so hateful of me as a stranger that she leaves a 6-month-old infant at home to go and kill people. If I live in that world, I want someone checking who's crossing our borders. I mean, that's not hateful. That's not racist. That's not xenophobic. That's as, common sense cautious as common sense cautious can be.
Absolutely. And to that point, Kevin, I think what's really important, is, people, we are a very compassionate and caring country. You know that.
I know that.
And, but people confuse our compassion and caring for other people as it relates to our immigration. It's two separate policies. And people confuse the two, and there lies the problem. And we have a lot of nonprofits that help a lot of people internationally across this world, and it does not mean you allow every single person into this country to crossing our borders. So that's point number one. Point number two, if you think about the probably billions, I don't know the numbers, but probably billions of dollars that we spend at our airports, right? With the security at our airports, we spend tons of money, tons of resources, and it's kind of a big hassle for all of us that fly to go in and out of those airports. But it's for a good reason. But at the same time, why don't we have that same care, that same importance at the border? It makes no sense. Whether you walk across or fly into the country, national security is the same. It doesn't make any sense. So, again, we need to build that wall. We need to know who's coming in and leaving this country. And again, me, it's very common sense. It's very simple. And that could resonate, again, across party lines.
And do you have any doubt that Mr. Trump, as you call him, would know how to actually build a wall?
Yeah, exactly. He knows how to build. He knows how to build, and he'll make a good deal, as you know. And, he's got that personal experience in the private sector world. So, again, I'm very excited to be supporting him. and they engaging all Delawareans throughout the state to be engaged. Because I got to tell you, he's created a resurgence of economic development and putting pride back in this country that people are just so very excited.
I think pride is the thing. Pride is the first thing. We need to restore some pride. Rob Arlett, campaign chair in Delaware for the Trump campaign. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Oh, Kevin, it's a pleasure. Appreciate you, and get out and go tomorrow.
All the best. We're listening to the Conservative Commandos radio show. I'm Kevin Wade. Coming to you live from WNJC 1360 AM studios at our flagship station in Philadelphia and around the world on the internet with American Patriots Broadcasting, TalkStream Live, SHR Media, K98 Talk, iHeartRadio, Red State Talk Radio, and AM, FM 24/7, thealllondon.com. I'm Kevin Wade. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
I really don't care. That's my prerogative. They say I'm nasty, but
You've heard Paul Deltz playing the music on the Your Music Matters morning show. He is also an experienced mortgage loan officer working for U.S. Mortgage Corporation and assists homeowners navigate the reverse mortgage process. If you are finding yourself asking questions whether or not you set aside enough for retirement, Paul can sit down with you, your family, and your financial advisor and discuss how a reverse mortgage may be a valuable resource for your retirement plan. You will be responsible for paying your taxes and insurance, and the reverse mortgage can help with this and other expenses, such as home health care or other untimely bills. Put Paul's 20-plus years of experience to work for you, as choosing the right option for your situation can be critical. Call Paul at U.S. Mortgage Corporation at 877-213-9977. That's 877-213-9977. Or go to seniormatters.info for more information. U.S. Mortgage Corporation is a licensed mortgage banker in New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and Delaware, and an equal housing lender. NMLS number 3901. U.S. Mortgage Corporation is located at 201 Old Country Road, Suite 140, Melville, New York, 11747. This advertisement applies to first lien mortgages. Paul E. Dilks, NMLS is 485904.
Hi, we're David and Patty Barrickman of Wildflower Ridge Honey, beekeepers for 49 years. I want to tell you about a great survival and a multi-use product called Trail Rations. It is pure honey and a product of the USA. Trail Rations comes in a food-grade 12-ounce, very durable and reusable pouch, ready for immediate use or for long-term storage, because honey is the only food that never spoils. Honey is instant energy and goes right straight to your bloodstream. Honey is one of the best all-natural survival foods, natural sweetener right straight from Mother Nature. Honey is also antiviral, fungal, and bacterial. It's your first aid in a pouch. Carry one in your backpack or your bug-out bag. Find us on Facebook, Wildflower Ridge Honey, or call 765-641-9972, 765-641-9972.
What does it take to be the leader in production systems technology? To be the one company that solves production problems at any plant, for any product, and with any technology? It takes a 30-year record of success. It takes total mastery of complex technologies with a history of delivering success every time, without fail. Only one company can claim that high ground in manufacturing line optimization, data automation, and systems integration, and that's Philadelphia Control Systems. In factories worldwide, Philadelphia Control Systems programs, software, and engineering solutions deliver optimal performance and output flow with a record that can't be matched. Any plant, any product, any technology. Philadelphia Control Systems, the leader in production automation since 1982. 800-335-9811. PCS4automation.com. That's PCS, the number 4, automation.com.
The Conservative Commandos radio show is expanding to become the Conservative Commandos radio network. We're establishing a front line of conservative radio broadcasters and ironclad patriots to declare war against the madness of liberalism and the Obama administration. Are you tired, as I am, about the disregard for our Constitution? Do you still have faith in the American dream? Are you looking for sensible, smart radio? If so, listen to the Conservative Commandos radio network every weekday from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. on WNJC Radio 1360 a.m. or around the world on the internet at WNJCradio.com. Check out our websites, conservativecommandosradionetwork.com and ccrn.com for rebroadcasts and network updates. We are the Conservative Commandos Radio Network, where even more newsmakers go to be heard.
I think we should make public colleges and universities tuition-free.
Climate change is directly related to the growth of terrorism.
Remove the federal prohibition on marijuana.
Climate change poses immediate risks to our national security.
I did not email any classified material to anyone. There is no classified material. Certainly well aware of the classification requirements.
We have a lot to learn from democratic socialist governments that have existed in countries like Denmark, Sweden, Finland, Norway.
This campaign is about a political revolution to transform this country. Now more than ever, we need our voice in Washington. Now more than ever, we need Sharon Angle in Washington. Go to runsharonangle.com and help us draft Sharon Angle to run for U.S. Senate.
From the East Coast to the West Coast and around the world on the internet. We're coming to you live from the CCRS studios. WNJC 1360. This is the Conservative Commandos radio show with your host, Rick Trader. The Conservative Commandos radio show, where the newsmakers go to be heard. You can call the Conservative Commandos radio show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-227-1360.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando Radio Show.
Welcome back to the Conservative Commandos Radio Show with Kevin Wade and yours truly, Rick Trader. And for rebroadcast of today's shows, check out our websites, ccrshow.com or ccrsnetwork.com, or mornings at 9 a.m. Log on to leadingedgeradionetwork.com. At 1 p.m., roarradio.net, and at 9 p.m., please log on to highplainsdailynews.com, or you could hear our show and all the shows that are associated with the Conservative Commandos Radio Network from your telephone by calling 832-999-1199. Our next guest is Bob Dorigo Jones. He serves as the Senior Fellow for the Center for America and is the author of the best-selling book, Remove Child Before Folding, the 101 Stupidest, Silliest, and Wackiest Warning Labels Ever. And we've all heard of 6 degrees of separation from Kevin Bacon, and there's been a lot of news lately with the death of Prince, about Prince, and actually Bob Dorigo Jones has about a 3rd degree of separation from Prince. Bob, welcome back to the Conservative Commandos Radio Show.
Hi, Rick. Nice to be back.
Great to have you with us. So, tell us about your 3 degrees of separation from Prince.
Yeah, it's probably about 1 or 2 degrees. It's funny, but my prom date in high school went on to become an actress, but before she got her start in Hollywood, she was the girl who appeared in his video for the song Raspberry Beret. She was the girl wearing the Raspberry Beret.
Well, I'll tell you, that leads me to look, Bob, you were quite a good-looking young man in high school.
Well, it's funny. Back then, you're about 30 pounds lighter, and you actually have hair in high school. So
I remember those days well when I had hair in high school.
Yes, the good old days.
You know, both you and I being follically impaired. Anyway, the good old days. Yeah. Well, Bob, we brought you on to talk about your Let's Be Fairs your Let's Be Fair segments, and we're going to play the first one. Put you on hold and play the first one.
I'm Bob Dorigo Jones, and this is Let's Be Fair. Yosemite National Park in California is known as one of the most beautiful places on Earth. Its spectacular granite cliffs and waterfalls inspired Native Americans to call the place Ahwahnee, meaning place of the gaping mouth. So in 1927, when the Park Service opened a beautiful hotel in Yosemite, they named it the Ahwahnee. One of its early employees was an aspiring photographer named Ansel Adams. Over the years, the Ahwahnee has been threatened by forest fires and storms, but it has always survived, until now. You see, the company hired by the federal government to run the hotel 23 years ago has lost its contract, and it's suing the United States, saying it owns the trademark on the name Ahwahnee. So, while the hotel itself will survive, the name won't. Let's be fair. The Park Service says the name wasn't part of the deal with the company. But with legal deadlines approaching, the iconic hotel where Queen Elizabeth and John F. Kennedy once stayed is now being renamed. Learn more. Visit our website at centerforamericatv.org.
So, Bob Dorigo Jones, how important is it? What is the company? Is it that big food vendor?
Right. There are two big ones.
Yeah.
One is Aramark.
That's the one I was thinking of, yeah.
And the company that is suing the United States government lost its contract to Aramark.
Uh-huh.
So anybody that goes to Yosemite or Grand Canyon or Yellowstone might have seen Aramark. It's very prominent. It manages a lot of the properties for us, the taxpayers.
Mm-hmm.
And the company that lost its contract at Yosemite is trying to claim that the original deal that it purchased when it got the right to manage the properties, hotels, there are a few hotels in Yosemite, was the actual copyright to the name. Beyond the Ahwahnee, it says that it actually owns the name for Yosemite, which is extremely hard to believe. That
well, you would think, Bob, wouldn't you think something like this is in a contract? And if it would be defensible in a court. But then we got to get into the issue of how important is it to hold that for this lodge, this hotel to hold the name, and how expensive would be to defend the name.
Well, right. It'll be in the millions of dollars to defend it. And the contract was written so that it was ambiguous. It said the company purchased the assets from the previous company that managed the properties. So it's claiming that the name itself is an asset, and this is where I think they're really going out on a limb and holding U.S. taxpayers really hostage to this scheme. Now, I'm all for going by the contracts and going by the letter and all that, but I think that this is just too much of a stretch, and it's something that the United States government shouldn't be able to auction off or sell the names of something that's been around for nearly 100 years like that.
Well, Bob, lawsuits are very expensive. You and I both know that. And let's play the next Let's Be Fair before we go to the break that talks about the amount of lawsuits that's costing the taxpayer.
I'm Bob Dorigo Jones, and this is Let's Be Fair. When you think of all the things you'll spend money on this month, where could you cut back if you wanted to save money? There's the home payment or rent, maybe a car payment, groceries, lawsuits. What? You don't have a line in your budget for lawsuits? Well, if you pay taxes, you're paying a lot for lawsuits, even if you've never been sued. I thought about this when reading an article about how much local governments pay when they're sued. Officials in New York City's law department just announced that the city will spend a record $746 million to settle lawsuits next year. Unfortunately, spending on lawsuits is rising in cities and counties throughout the country. But government officials don't pay the tab for these lawsuits. We all do, as taxpayers. Let's be fair. Eliminating lawsuit abuse will save money for important things like police and fire protection. But it also means we won't have to cut back on other things that we need each month, like groceries and transportation. Learn more. Visit our website at centerforamericatv.org.
Bob Dorigo Jones, lawsuits not only hit big cities like New York City, but Deptford Township, New Jersey, which is not far from our station, settled a lawsuit for $35,000 when the police detained an individual that was going around with a movie camera acting very suspiciously. And in this individual's pocket was a piece of cellophane, and in the cellophane was some cracker crumbs, but it looked very much like crack cocaine. So this individual who was not arrested, but just detained while it was determined what was in the cellophane, sued the township and won $35,000. But the township arguments was it was easier to settle a lawsuit for $35,000 than to take it to court.
And that's the real tragedy of this, and this is what we see over and over and over again. 9 out of 10 lawsuits in the United States are settled because the cost of fighting even a ridiculous lawsuit like this will be more than what they settle for, in this case, $35,000, and for paying the lawyers to defend the city. So it's become, even when you win, you lose, and that's why we're trying to bring awareness to the role that judges play in being a gatekeeper to these types of lawsuits, because ultimately, as in New York, that they were anticipating $746 million. Well, it's not the officials that settle these, that pay out of their own pocket. Of course, it's us, and we've got to get this under control.
All right. Hey, Bob, we've got to take a break. Could you hold on for us for a couple of minutes? All right, you are listening to the Conservative Commandos radio show with Kevin Wade and Rick Trader, coming to you from the studios of the Conservative Commandos radio network at WNJC 1360, our flagship station in Philadelphia, and around the world on the internet with American Patriots Broadcasting, TalkStream Live, SHR Media, K98 Talk, iHeartRadio, AM, FM 24/7, Red State Talk Radio. Our guest this segment is Bob Dorigo Jones, Senior Fellow for the Center for America. Don't go away. We'll be right back with some more wacky lawsuits.
I really don't care. That's my prerogative. They say I'm nasty, but I...
The Conservative Commandos radio show is expanding to become the Conservative Commandos radio network. We are establishing a front line of conservative radio broadcasters and ironclad patriots to declare war against the madness of liberalism and the Obama administration. Are you tired of the disregard for our Constitution? Do you still have faith in the American dream? Are you looking for sensible, smart radio? If so, listen to the Conservative Commandos radio network every weekday from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. and Saturdays from 2 to 6 p.m. on WNJC Radio, 1360 on your AM dial, or around the world on the internet at WNJCradio.com. Check out our website, ccrsnetwork.com, for rebroadcasts and network updates. We are the Conservative Commandos Radio Network, where now even more newsmakers go to be heard.
We're David and Patty Barrickman of Wildflower Ridge Honey, beekeepers for 49 years. I want to tell you about a great survival and a multi-use product called Trail Rations. It is pure honey and a product of the USA. Trail Rations comes in a food-grade 12-ounce, very durable and reusable pouch, ready for immediate use or for long-term storage, because honey is the only food that never spoils. Honey is instant energy and goes right straight to your bloodstream. Honey is one of the best all-natural survival foods, natural sweetener right straight from Mother Nature. Honey is also antiviral, fungal, and bacterial. It's your first aid in a pouch. Carry one in your backpack or your bug-out bag. Find us on Facebook, Wildflower Ridge Honey, or call 765-641-9972, 765-641-9972.
I think we should make public colleges and universities tuition-free.
Climate change is directly related to the growth of terrorism.
Remove the federal prohibition on marijuana.
Climate change poses immediate risks to our national security.
I did not email any classified material to anyone. There is no classified material. Certainly well aware of the classification requirements.
We have a lot to learn from democratic socialist governments that have existed in countries like Denmark, Sweden, Finland, Norway.
This campaign is about a political revolution to transform this country. Now more than ever, we need our voice in Washington. Now more than ever, we need Sharon Angle in Washington. Go to runsharonangle.com
and help us draft Sharon Angle to run for U.S. Senate.
You can call the Conservative Commandos radio show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-227-1360.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando radio show.
Welcome back to the Conservative Commandos radio show with Kevin Wade and yours truly, Rick Trader. And for rebroadcasts of our shows, otherwise known as podcasts, check out our websites, ccrshow.com or ccrsnetwork.com, or mornings at 9 a.m., log on to leadingedgeradionetwork.com, at 1 p.m., roarradio.net, or at 9 p.m., highplainsdailynews.com. You can also hear our show from your telephone by calling 832-999-1199. Our guest this segment is Bob Dorigo Jones. He's the senior fellow for the Center for America, and we're playing his Let's Be Fair commentaries, for which he shares important stories about the impact of crazy lawsuits and a litigation-happy culture on our communities and our families. Mateo, let's play the next one.
I'm Bob Dorigo Jones, and this is Let's Be Fair. Imagine this situation. You're the volunteer coach for your son or daughter's Little League baseball team, and it's time to fill out the roster. Your center fielder has the flu, so you put another player there. A batter hits a pop fly to center, but the fielder misses it and gets hit in the eye. What do? Well, how about call a defense lawyer? Several years ago, the president of Little League Baseball told Congress that story to reveal how bad America's lawsuit problem has become. In that case, the players' parents sued for medical costs, pain and suffering, and punitive damages, all because of a mishandled pop fly. Let's be fair. Sometimes it seems that America's new national pastime is filing lawsuits. A new lawsuit is filed every 2 seconds in America. And unless the courts solve this problem, it may get to the point where the only people qualified to coach Little League Baseball anymore are moms and dads with a law degree. Learn more. Visit our website at centerforamericatv.org.
Well, Bob, it seems like you and I have these conversations a couple of times a year, how Little League Baseball is affected by lawsuits.
That's right. Well, in America, nobody is immune, unfortunately. And this is a problem I've seen very closely. I've been a coach of about 10 different Little League teams myself, so this is an issue that's near and dear to my heart. But one of the first people I ever spoke with when I started in this topic of legal reform almost 20 years ago was the president of the Little League Baseball of America Association. And it really opened my eyes to how this is not just a problem for big business or medicine or insurance. This is an issue that affects all of us. And in the case of Little League, money that they're spending on insurance to protect themselves from lawsuits is being taken away from equipment, from umpires that they need, and it's making it harder to find coaches in many areas of the country, actually.
Bob, how does Little League make its money?
Well, they make their money on the dues that the kids pay and the parents pay when they pull together the teams for each league locally.
Uh-huh.
So, a small percentage of that would go to national association. And so it just adds up. It's like we might have spoken once about Girl Scouts here in Metro Detroit once announced they had to sell 36,000 boxes of cookies to pay for liability in case they're sued.
Wow.
So it's really a problem for nonprofits.
So really it becomes a problem for the kids and the parents. They're the ones that all these lawsuits are on their backs.
Well, that's right. And when I moved to the community I live in now, they were actually having a hard time finding coaches to coach Little League, and they don't call it Little League soccer, but Pee Wee soccer,
right?
Because one of the previous coaches had been sued after lightning struck during one of the practices, actually hit a child. I read through the whole lawsuit. It was.
I don't mean to be laughing. It's a shame that this child got hit by lightning, but to blame the coach?
Oh, right. And in some cases, if it had been a horrendous thunderstorm and if there was lightning all around and the coach still sent them out in lightning, then you could see there might be some liability. It probably would be liability in that case. But this was one where it was there was only one lightning strike far away. He waited 20 minutes. He did all the right things, and that's what bothered the people around here about this case is when a coach had done the right thing, had been cautious about letting the kids back out after lightning, and it was a rogue cloud that came and lightning struck, and it's one of those things where you couldn't anticipate it, and that's a case where a lawsuit really isn't legitimate.
Yeah. All right, Bob, let's play the next one. And we're speaking with Bob DeRico-Jones, Senior Fellow for Center for America, and this is Let's Be Fair.
I'm Bob DeRico-Jones, and this is Let's Be Fair. According to a nationwide survey of doctors conducted by Gallup, as much as 1/4 of all the money spent on health care can be attributed to defensive medicine. Defensive medicine happens when doctors order tests not to diagnose a medical problem, but to protect themselves from lawsuits. With deductibles for so many health plans rising these days, consumers are directly paying for these unneeded tests. At the same time, another national survey found that the vast number of injuries resulting from medical negligence go uncompensated. So, many victims of malpractice are failing to obtain justice. Let's be fair, the current system costs billions more than it should, but still fails to protect victims far too often. So what's the solution? A nonpartisan group called Patients for Fair Compensation has developed a new plan that would replace our broken system with a new one. It could eliminate defensive medicine and provide quick justice for victims of malpractice. Learn more. Visit our website at centerforamericatv.org.
So, Bob, what is their plan?
The plan is based on a system that would be much like the workers' compensation system that's been around for 100 years. And it's a concept that has been talked about before. Harvard Medical School did a joint study with a group called Common Good in New York City, another nonprofit, and they actually recommended an approach similar to this too. Part of the problem is that you're asking juries and judges in many cases to make decisions in medical malpractice situations that they're just not qualified to do. It's a very complicated subject, and when we looked at this 100 years ago with workers' compensation, they came to the same conclusion and said, let's create an administrative law court that deals with these, and have a schedule for how much people should be paid for certain injuries, and that way it's quicker, the victim gets more money up front, and there's less for the lawyers. So the winners are the victims because they're getting more money quicker, and the job providers because they're getting a fairness. They're not seeing the courts used as a sort of lottery system. The only ones that lose are the personal injury lawyers. But
well, unfortunately, Bob, 70% of the politicians in America today are lawyers. So the likelihood of them passing laws where they and their brethren will make less money, I don't think that prospect is too bright.
It's definitely an uphill battle, but I think as more people become aware of this, it's an idea now that is being debated in 5 states in committees, and we got to keep pushing forward with reforms because the current system is just really not good for victims or doctors, and it's stealing a lot of money away from medical care.
Well, Bob DeRico-Jones, Senior Fellow for Center for America, always love having you on. Always love doing these little Let's Be Fair commentaries. Hey, Bob, Jackie Swanson, have you heard from her since the prom?
Yes, we have, as a matter of fact. We keep in touch. I was in Boston a little while ago, and because she appeared on the TV show Cheers, I got in touch with her again and just asked what she's doing these days. So it's nice. Always, when I'm from a small town like Cadillac, Michigan, in the northern part of Michigan, there aren't a whole lot of celebrities up there, so we do keep in touch.
All right. Actually, the little hometown that I came from, Elwood, New Jersey, population of about 500 people, we actually had a Miss America. So I think that's pretty proud of that.
For you. Good for you.
Bob DeRico-Jones, how can people follow your work?
They can go to our website, which is centerforamericatv.org, and read up more about these, see links to my blog, and see how to enter our contest, which is coming up with John Stossel in a couple months.
I've got to have you back on and talk about that.
Sounds good.
Kevin Wade, these lawsuits, I'm telling you, I think that we need to revamp the law system. We need to get into a loser pays system like they do in Japan. I mean, it's crazy.
That would solve it. I had a fellow sue me 18 days after I hired him and found out he wasn't what was advertised. I terminated him. He sued for age discrimination. Even his attorney said, you're only 18 days older when you got fired. Hey, it's time to wrap this show. Thank you for being with us. This is the Conservative Commandos Radio Show. God bless, Godspeed, love your country, and may God save the United States of America.